We are ready for our first case. Would the offender please introduce yourself, give your full name, and your Department of Corrections ID?
Joel Rendell, Pedelahore, 374486.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Pedelahore. How are you?
Pretty good. How are y'all?
Good. Mr. Pedelahore, I'm going to explain the process to you. And then we'll proceed with the parole interview.
Yes, sir.
I will read some information in the record. Once that information is verified, we'll have the parole interview. At the appropriate time, we'll give Warden Bowlong a chance to make remarks, comments, or observations. Then we'll hear from Ms. Chelsea Favorites, the victim, and she would like to make a statement. After that statement is complete, we'll allow you a short period of time to make a statement on your behalf. You understand the process?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Mr. Pedelahore, you are a second felony offender. You're currently 53 years old, is that correct?
I couldn't understand. Yes, sir.
You didn't understand the question.
You're currently 53 years old.
Yes,
Is that
sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
Your offenses are in St. Mary Parish, theft, you were sentenced on April 11th, 2002, and you received a 15-year sentence. Unauthorized entry into inhabited dwelling, you were sentenced on April 5th, 2004, and you received a 12-year sentence. The third offense is aggravated oral sexual battery. You were sentenced on March 29th, 2005, and you received a 25-year sentence. Then the fourth offense, unauthorized entry of an inhabited dwelling. You were sentenced on April 5th, 2004, and you received a 12-year sentence. Your 25-year sentence is running consecutive to your 15-year sentence, and you have a total sentence of 40 years. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Your parole date was April 3rd, 2021. You do not receive good time, and your full term date is April 6th, 2037. Is all this information correct?
Yes, sir.
The case has been assigned to Mrs. Wise. Would you please answer Mrs. Wise's questions?
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
How's it going?
It's well, kind of nervous.
Good, good. Yeah, that's to be expected. Good. We're just gonna talk about you.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us about your education. You got a very impressive educational level since you've been in prison. Let's
Yes,
call it out.
ma'am. I come to jail with no education. Since being incarcerated, I've achieved a GED, 2 separate associate degrees from 2 separate colleges, and I'm within 4 to 5 classes of a bachelor's degree in communication with a minor in business management.
That's impressive. Very good, very good. In terms of programs, you completed sex offender treatment programs, right?
Yes, ma'am, and I was a facilitator for about a year and a half at the facility I completed that.
Okay, why did that end, being a facilitator? What happened?
I was a peer tutor. I took the program and I felt the program was beneficial to other offenders. So therefore I become a tutor of the program to help other offenders like myself along.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't phrase the question. I said, why did it end? You stopped being a tutor.
Oh, I was,
In 2012.
I was transferred to another facility.
Okay. Oh, okay, that makes sense. And recently, you got a tutor certification, December of 22, and you also got a dyslexia research certification. Tell us about that in 23.
I teach adult basic education, people who have a high set that are trying to get in college or VOTEC. And some of the gentlemen are older, and we find in the education department that we run into the dyslexia problem with some of the students. So they trained us to deal with this and have them overcome their learning disability.
And I'm glad to see that. That's a great service to be offered. And also I see that you're in victim accountability now, right? Or you recently took it?
Yeah, in the process of taking that, I just completed victim awareness. Now I'm in victim accountability. Yes, ma'am.
So tell us what you know about, tell us what you learned. Tell about 3 things you learned.
Evaluate, engage, and change everything, the way you think, your cognitive reasoning behind everything.
I'm sorry. I want you to tell me 3 things you learned in the victim awareness and the victim accountability classes, those 2 classes specifically.
I've learned that my actions personally, I can only speak for me personally, does affect everybody that's affected by what I do through physical, financial, spiritually, it affects them. So I learned to be, how to put this, careful when I'm dealing with situations and how to stop myself in certain areas from dealing with things to reflect other people's feelings. I really can't, I don't know how to explain that further. Yes, ma'am. I learned
you take Toastmasters now, so I figured you're gonna be able to come on out with it.
yes, ma'am. No, I've been through Toastmasters too at Louisiana State Penitentiary. Yes, ma'am.
I'm saying. Okay, I think I understand what you got from that. You are also chairman of the WNA, AANA. Are you still participating?
I was chairman at LaSalle Correctional. Me and another offender founded the AANA at Catahoula Correctional. I've been through substance abuse at Angola, Rayburn. I pretty much, I try to do totally positive stuff in programs to not only better myself, but try to help other offenders in my situation.
Now, if you were successful today, what would be your sobriety plan to stay away from drugs and alcohol?
Well, ma'am, I understand I'll always be an addict of drugs, but I have not used in over 20 years. And I find I keep myself away from the surroundings that drugs are used in. And I would myself become a member of AA and NA on the street. I applied for numerous halfway houses that their discipline is sobriety. And I feel trying to transition back into society, it would be beneficial to my case of being in the surroundings.
But at this point, you don't have a place, or nobody's accepted you at this point, right?
I was all told by the ones I applied for, upon getting granted, notify them there's a waiting list, 4 to 6 months. I'll still be incarcerated until a place becomes open. All my family's deceased now, and I have to have a place to go to reinstitute myself in the society to get back on my feet.
Okay, okay. Let's talk about the disciplinary record. I found it quite disturbing.
Yes, ma'am.
In the working cell block, when was that? And
Approximately 20 months ago was my last write-up. Yes, ma'am.
and
was-
it's, go ahead.
So it was for a 21A, which due to my incarceration and my other feelings, I live alternative lifestyle. I have relationships in jail, right or wrong. It's something you know what I mean? So therefore, it was me and my partner got in trouble.
Okay, okay. Yeah, that's what the record looks like. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I do want to inform you, as a part of this process, we reach out to the law enforcement community, and there's opposition to your early release.
Yes,
They voiced some strong opposition to your early release. There's nothing you can do about it, because your criminal history is kind of all over the place. I mean, you've done a little bit of everything, you know? What was the motivation for all this, for the stealing charge? What was the motivation for that?
I had a serious drug problem at that time on the street. My charges all revolve around drug abuse.
Okay.
Other than the one violent offense that I had. Everything else is pretty much due to drug abuse at that time in my life.
So how long you been in this alternative lifestyle? How many years would you say?
Approximately 20.
Oh, so this since incarceration then?
Yes, ma'am. I redefined my life.
Okay, okay. All right, that's all the questions I have. Warren, what can you tell us?
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Wise, he's been doing well in here. Of course, you've seen all the programming and the stuff that he's done. You know, really no issues other than his last disciplinary reports. Of course, you know, I've told him that, you know, I was concerned with that, you know, being a sex offender and getting sex offenses is, you know, it doesn't look good. You know, so he needs to work on that. And I think he needs to take victim impact. I know victim awareness and victim accountability are good, but victim impact has a good track record. It seems to be a better program.
Thank you, Ward. That's all I had, Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Wise. Mr. Freeman.
Okay, Mr. Joel. You keep saying you were a drug addict. Are you still a drug addict?
Sir, I misunderstood you.
Are you still a drug addict? Are you a drug addict?
Once an addict, always an addict, sir, but I've been sober for over 20 years now. Yes, sir. I still participate in every program I can to ensure I'll never relapse.
Okay. And tell me a little bit about what happened. Was it one of your sisters or two of your sisters?
My sisters.
Your victims, I'm sorry.
Oh, the victim. Me and my fiance at the time were babysitting. We babysat a few times with the child at the time. And we were wrestling around and somehow, I'm not saying, I don't know how to put this. My mouth touched her private parts while she was fully dressed. There was no nudity involved in it. And it's a crime, sir. So I was found guilty. It's something I will live with my whole life, just as well as the victim will live with their whole life. It was a wrong I committed and I'm being punished for it, and I understand this wrong. It was something that happened. I don't know. My reasoning and my thought process was not what it should have been at that time in life.
So you went to trial on these charges?
Yes, sir, on that particular one, yes, sir.
No further questions.
Mr. Pedelahore, you said that all your family members were deceased, so you're having problems finding a place to stay. Is that true?
Yes, sir. I talked to Warden Jeff Easley over the Catholic Church, and he's put me in touch with a few One Touch Ministry and a few other ones that are Christian-based, substance-based halfway houses with strict rules and policies to ensure that if this honorable board does grant me, that I'll begin on the right path.
Okay. Mr. Pedelahore, you have no living blood relatives. Is that true?
I have a brother and sister that are estranged for approximately 15 years or so. I don't even know if they're alive, where they're at. I don't know. But my father, mother deceased, all my grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, they're deceased. Yes, sir.
You were prosecuted for this crime against Chelsea.
Yes, sir.
How many other victims would you say that you had that you were not prosecuted for?
And this particular type of charge, none. They had two people come forward and the district attorney's office dismissed the charges because there were more retaliation for this charge. They
Yeah,
felt
For the person.
it was a cousin and a sister, and the indictments, nothing ever went through.
Okay, thank you,
Yes,
sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
For the try at the last name, is it Chelsea Fabre?
Yes, sir.
Or is it Fabre?
It's Faberez.
Okay, Fabre. I was right, okay. Ms. Fabre, would you please give us your statement, please?
Yes, sir. I'm writing you today regarding the current deliberation of releasing Joe Pedelahore on parole. Over 20 years ago, I was sexually abused by this man. I still vividly remember the physical and emotional pain he put me through, especially now that I'm forced to relive these incidents through countless testimonies, as well as this very letter. Because his release is being debated, I can no longer dissociate from the distressing memories that his actions left behind. Instead, I have needed to begin intensive trauma therapy as a result for the post-traumatic stress disorder that I've been silently suffering from. It has become clear to me that some sort of psychotherapy has been long overdue since the discussion of his release has caused the debilitating anguish to resurface. Now that I've been to a few therapy sessions, one of the statements that has stuck with me the most is something that should be deeply considered regarding this situation. My therapist says there are 3 types of people that do not respond to treatment: serial killers, narcissists, and pedophiles. As a convicted pedophile, Mr. Pedelahore is likely to reoffend if he were to be released on parole, not only as one of his victims, but also as a protective mother of 2 beautiful young children. It is severely worrying and disturbing to know that his release is now a possibility to repeat these violent behaviors and/or sexual assault towards others. I wish I could truly put into words how much of a nightmare it is to relive the extensive abuse I underwent as a child. Mr. Pedalahore's release would only turn this nightmare into my living hell. As a firsthand witness of his heinous acts, I plead for you to consider the danger of releasing him on parole, as his chances of reoffending are alarmingly high. Above all, I empathize with his other victims and wish them as much love, support, and strength they can get, as I'm sure this is equally as triggering for all of us. With the utmost hope in my heart, I pray that no one will ever have to endure Mr. Pedalahore's violence again. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fabre.
Yes, sir.
There's no more testimony. Mr. Pedelahore, would you like to make a brief closing statement?
Sir, I understand, and over the 20 years, I think about the act I committed every day. I've spent over 20 years rehabilitating myself where I will not commit any crimes in society again. I've had one violent conviction. The rest of my charges were small felonies. I feel that every man should get a second chance. I had one victim, one conviction. That was the only violent circumstances in my whole life I've ever been to court for. I pray this board sees fit due to my accomplishments and our discussion to give me another chance. I've done everything that the Department of Corrections can give a man to rehabilitate himself, and I believe I've proved to this board and to DOC and hopefully the victim that I'm not the same person I was at 30 years old and 29 years old. I'm an educated man. It's taken responsibility for what he's done and wish to go back into society and try to right my wrongs through maybe even educating others to this fact. But there's really nothing I can say toward this whole statement. It was a crime I committed, but that'll never change. I just ask and pray that forgiveness will come and I can move on with life. And she can move on with life too and know that even though she's the victim and it's cost her a lot in mental anguish and so forth, there's a time to forgive and give me another chance. I'm not in the area these people are in.
Mr. Pedelahore, wrap it up.
Ma'am, sir. Yes, sir. That's all I would like to say. I appreciate it and I'm sorry to Ms. Hall.
Thank you,
Thank
sir. Is the panel ready to vote?
Yes, yeah. I forgot to ask one question. The record indicates you have one child. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of relationship you have with your child?
I'm estranged from her for a reason. I don't believe that I should drag people into the prison life.
That's fine. I just forgot to ask you about your relationship with your child. For me, Mr. Joel, you've done well, tuition overall, with the write-ups that those are concerning. But for me, my vote is to deny because of the law enforcement opposition. I don't think that, I think that the victim impact program that the warden suggested, I urge you to take that. Because I don't think that I don't think you see the impact of what you've done. And I don't think you were completely honest about what you've done. And you have a moderate risk. And I think I already mentioned law enforcement opposition. But again, I commend you for the work you're doing as a tutor, especially for the dyslexic individuals, and I encourage you to continue doing that. That is my vote.
Thank you, Ms. Wise. Mr. Freeman.
Okay, Joe, I look at your rap sheet, I see a peeping Tom charge, which you wasn't convicted of. I also see where a girl claimed that you allegedly tried to kidnap her. I totally do not believe that your mouth just hit her bra. I think it was a whole lot more than that and a whole lot more than wrestling. And hopefully next time you'll tell us the full truth. So my vote today is to deny.
Mr. Pedelahore, I will be quite frank with you. The amount of opposition from the legal community have expressed very strong opposition to your release. The overwhelming opposition from that legal community tells me that they think that you are a public safety risk, and I do too. You have adamant opposition from the victim. Therefore, I'm going to deny your request also. You have received 3 votes to deny your request. Your request for early release has been denied. You have a good day.
Thank you, sir.